Multiple sclerosis is an illness of many scars. It is a chronic and progressive immune-mediated disorder of the central nervous system caused by damage to myelin, a fatty matter which insulates nerves. With the loss of myelin, multiple scars appear in different times and in different areas of the brain and spinal cord. MS produces multiple physical, cognitive, and psychological symptoms, from chronic fatigue to the loss of motor and cognitive abilities. The symptoms happen in unpredictable manner, depending on the area affected by the loss of myelin. MS affects social lives. People with MS suffer prejudices and stigmas, leading to unemployment, precarity, loss of social relations, decrease in self-esteem, and disempowerment. MS is diagnosed among economically active population between 20 and 40 years old, and lately it affects more pre-adolescent children. Its emergence is unknown, and there is no cure. Living with MS supposes continuous treatment and rehabilitation, too expensive for an individual patient. Therefore, MS requires adequate policies and state programs. Since multiple sclerosis is a social issue with economic, political, and cultural consequences, living with MS is even harder in an authoritarian state, such as contemporary Russia. Authoritarian states lower the quality of life with MS. They do so by neglecting public opinion and media expression, by restricting the spectrum of possible treatments through import substitution policies, by rendering disability invisible to promote an image of a strong state, and by banning international patient groups. Many MS patients find themselves isolated and unable to exercise their constitutional rights, silencing their illness, limited in the choice of treatments, and unable to learn from international experience and knowledge, with no access to credible sources of information, with no dialogue with medical professionals, reduced to a voiceless object of medical management. As authoritarian states push persons with MS down the social ladder, people with and affected by MS organize. They form alliances with other people with MS, their families, doctors, and patients with other illnesses, everyone who lives with MS in one way or another. Most of these alliances are informal, hidden, and improvised, which protects patient organizations from surveillance. Patient organizations establish informal research centers for well-being with MS. People with or affected by MS and medical professionals collect and systematize their experiences of this illness and concrete practices for everyday living. These research centers form credible sources of information. Patient organizations participate in the development of better care techniques, testing rehabilitation methods such as yoga therapy or hippotherapy. These care opportunities, not taken seriously in the authoritarian public health governance, are developed through careful research methodologies. One of the inventions of patient organizations in Russia are patient schools, independent learning places for living with a chronic illness. In contrast with schools organized by pharmaceuticals, these schools, led by experienced patients, teach living with MS for newly diagnosed, family members, employers, and even governmental officials. The more people with MS organize and form solidarity alliances, the more they become an important force, a potential of emancipation in an authoritarian state. By the power of the extensive and visible networks, patient organizations become valued by the state. In Russia, patient organizations pushed for the formation of public councils, ensuring the quality of medical institutions and medico-social bureaus. Also, a collective petition from a dozen patient groups prevented Russian government from passing a detrimental law banning all foreign medications. A final note: organizations of persons with MS are formed and driven by these persons. And sometimes MS wins, taking organizers' energy and even lives. Patient organizations are living bodies, constantly moving and essentially improvisational. They teach to live together with MS as well as it is possible, to exercise one's civil rights and express political opinion in a safe way, to form good relationships with medical personnel and governmental officials, and to live well in dignity, even in an authoritarian state.